Hello, welcome to another Zatu Games review. Today we are looking at Marvel's Infinity Gauntlet, a love letter game. The game comes in this bag with a couple of baggies in there for storage, has a rule book which is, I'm going to say okay, there's a few things that confuse me, but mainly because if you've played Love Letter before, there's a few things which might jar you and you're not used to. Comes with these great power tokens, which are +2, double-sided, very thick, and then these clips. And what you will do is the hero team will always start up here. This is their health. And the Thanos side, which is one person, will start depending on their player count. That will be placed in the board area, in the playing area, and then there are some helper cards which just go through the powers of the heroes and Thanos and the numbers of cards they have. And you can see that Thanos has Infinity Gauntlets in 1 to 6 and only 7 doesn't have an Infinity Gauntlet. The cards themselves are split into 2 decks, Thanos' deck and the hero deck. The heroes are going to get 1 card in their hand each, and on their go they will draw 1, play 1 and resolve it. And Thanos is going to get 2 cards in his hand at once, and again play 1, draw 1, and then remain with 2. So we'll just put this to here for once and for 1 minute and put this here. So the way this works is Thanos will start with 2 cards. Now cards have little dots on the bottom telling you how many times they occur. So we know there's 3 number 1s in Thanos' hands, and there is 1 Infinity Gauntlet in the number 6s. If you look at number 6, there's only 1 number 6 and it's an Infinity Gauntlet because it's got that yellow. And you see they have powers. So for me, I start my go, I pick up, and the obvious one to use is 5, which lets me draw 1 card from the deck, then place 1 card from my hand on the bottom. Now I don't want to place Infinity Stones on the bottom because I win by either defeating the heroes or by getting all 6 Infinity Stones either on the table in front of me or in my hand. So 2 in my hand and 4 in the table. Here we see that they have a 1 and a 3, and 3 always lets you fight no matter who it is. So the heroes will play a 3 here and say they want to fight Thanos, and in that case they will point to one of Thanos' cards and use the other card in their hand's power. So it's a 1 and a 1, which is a draw. If we've had a power token, we must use it and it adds +2, but you can only use 1 in each battle. The defeated card, so let's say that in this case we did have a power token, the defeated card usually gets discarded unless it says otherwise. Stones go back into the draw pile, but you must draw up first so you don't draw that stone right away. And Star-Lord, the token will go, Star-Lord will go back to the hand there, and then this will be shuffled back in. Because Thanos got defeated, he loses 1 health. Now this is the only way for the heroes to beat Thanos as well, to get his health down. So that's a good result for the heroes. Now, depending on player count, the heroes take all their... the heroes always take all their turns. If there's only 1 hero player, they basically take 2 turns in a row, then it's Thanos's. So it's like playing against a 2-person team, but a little bit different because you get the advantage of more information. If you're in a team, the only information you can give each other is through card play and sometimes allowing someone else to do something because of your card power. There is no player elimination when one team loses its health or when Thanos gets the 6 Infinity Stones, the game is over. Apologies for the change in scenery, I have a leaky house. Anyway, enough of that, on to Infinity Gauntlet, a love letter game. The game clearly has its roots in Love Letter. A lot of the powers that you'll be using will be familiar to those of you who've played Love Letter, with a Marvel twist and kind of more... Can you tell I'm on a rotating chair? That's going to annoy people. Stop. And more of a focus on battles and fights, defeating, challenging people. And I have to say, this is my favourite version of Love Letter yet. There is no player elimination, which is a big plus, so no one sits out for the round, and it wasn't a big deal in Love Letter because it was so quick, but it's just nice that everyone's involved. There's a nice kind of progression to the game where at first, as players are learning the cards and the synergies that are within the cards, Thanos wins a lot, and then
Thanos starts to lose, and you kind of laugh at your mate who's had Thanos while he loses, like, Thanos is easiest to win with. And then Thanos keeps losing because players have learned the cards and synergies, which then means the Thanos players need to go back and re-examine their synergies and change them up a bit. So there's a real nice meta game that goes on when you play it multiple times with the same groups. And you will play it multiple times with the same groups because it's so quick and good. The components are great throughout, the cards are great quality, and the little plastic power tokens which have been added for this instead of, because you're not collecting heart tokens anymore, they're just brilliant. They're double-sided, they're, what's it called? They're cut into, so they're indented, and they just don't, they have no right to be that good, but they're brilliant. The tracker is, sometimes you have problems with the trackers where they snag the card, nothing like that here. There is enough player aids, but very quickly you don't need those. The biggest hurdle for people to get over, bizarrely, is something that's done really well, is to know how many of each card there is, which is done on the bottom with those dots. And then on the Thanos' side, the Infinity Stone one being coloured, it just really throws people. Like, right, there's 3 ones, so there's 3 cards just like this. You're like, no, there's 3 ones, but one of them is an Infinity Stone and it's slightly different, more kind of leveled up version. So that's the thing that I find most difficult for people to grasp. The second most thing is that when you battle, and this is where the rules are a little bit, I could have done with a bit more clarity, but maybe because I'm really bad at reading things into rules that aren't there, maybe that's my issue. But when you play as a hero, for example, if you play a number 3, that lets you fight Thanos. Now you're going to fight with the remaining card in your hand. So you're playing the card, but now that number is ignored, you're using the card in your hand. So just kind of getting through that. I worked it out in the end because of the way the rules say that you then pick one up. And it's just a little bit of the difference between the old love letter where you're keeping this tableau of cards in front of you because Thanos needs to get the Infinity Crystals in front of him or in his hand, all 6 of them. And the game does have this ticking clock. As the heroes, if you aren't taking out those crystals, you know, by luck or by skilled combinations of moves, then that can happen very quickly. But every time you defeat a crystal, it goes back into Thanos's draw deck, which gets shuffled up. Thankfully, he draws one first, so it's not going to be the same card, and then it gets shuffled in, and it's just done really, really well. I like it a lot. I like it as a 2-player game. The 2-player game sees the hero character take 2 turns in a row. I think that works really well, and I think that's slightly easier than the 3-player game, because in the 3-player game you don't have the communication between the 2 players, whereas in the as the heroes, in the 2-player only, because they're taking 2 turns, they can combo some of those, look at Thanos' hands, guess a number, because you know what number's going to be in there. One thing I did find with a Thanos player is there's a real temptation to shuffle up the cards, which we played was illegal because the only time the rulebook says you can shuffle up your hand so the heroes don't know which is when you're about to fight. So if someone gets to peek at one, I was playing that you have to keep that in the same hand so they always know which one's there. Although I don't think it really matters, because it only matters if they get to peek again. That's when it matters, if that same player gets to peek at the same hand. So we were playing that just because the rules stated that you have to shuffle for fights if the hero player has started off. This is a great little package. It comes in a little pouch, a great one to teach new people to the hobby, but also to play with your game group with the 1 versus many aspects. I really, really like Infinity Gauntlet Love Letter. I think it's the best love letter you can get, especially if you're a superhero fan. I'm going to start doing a new thing, which is where I talk about replayability on the short, medium, and long term. On the short and medium term, definitely Love Letter rates high on replayability. It's one you will play over and over because of the shortness of the game. And as I indicated at the start of this review, the metagame does change. Long term is a bit more hard to say. I feel like if it's anything like this type of game that I've played before, it will play a lot at the start of its place in your collection, and then as you move to long term, it'll probably be one you throw in the bag because it's so small. You throw in the bag for game night, you take it places, but maybe it doesn't hit the table the same kind of amount of repetition. But I think it does have built into it the kind of enough replayability that it's still a game you will play long term, just perhaps won't hit the table as much, which is natural in the life of any game. But their replayability is there on the short to medium term for sure. It's a game that you can play 5 times in a row and not get sick of. In fact, you'd probably play it 6 because, well, if it's 2-player, you'd play it enough times so everyone gets to go as Thanos. That's what you would do, and you would probably do that every time you play it. That's been my review of Infinity Gauntlet. It's definitely one I think you should pick up. Works with 2 players really well, scales up to all the way up to 6. Haven't tried that, obviously due to COVID, but I've played it 3 and 4 and it still works in a fantastic fashion. Thank you very much. Please do subscribe to Zatu's YouTube, and like this video, go onto their Facebook. We got loads of live content. We did lots of UK Games Expo content, which is in our UK Games Expo playlist here on YouTube, and that's being updated with all the live stuff we did over on Facebook as well. Thanks very much, have a nice day, and we'll see you again.